We're going to be harvesting our bins finally. Veggie news, I noticed I did some jeans. I cut up some jeans because I wanted to get some extra moisture in there. Alright. And now, let us look. Wow, let's look what happened to the t-shirt.
Wow, I can't believe it. It's just all rags.
And it's literally collapsing in my hand. That's one reason I put the new denim in there. Again, all cotton. So, the question is, will worms eat your t-shirts? Yes, and I'm trying to dump this out. And as you can see, it's just falling apart. And so, it became rags. Wow. But we're going to harvest it. Well, I tried something new, and about a week ago I put this in there. It is by Market Site. This is supposed to be a compostable plastic bag. And so far I'll put it back in there, but it doesn't look like the worms did anything to it.
It's still solid.
It's still pretty solid.
It's still acting like plastic, right?
Right. It's supposed to be all made combustible plant product. Well, we're going to harvest today, and the first thing I want to do, wow, beautiful stuff, is I'm taking off some of the excess, like cardboard and stuff, because we're going to separate that out. And that will have to go back to composting. Wow, look at that, right here. And I'm separating out. I'm going to grab these guys and put them in my worm bucket. So this is a pretty healthy bin. And they're still eating away. Today I'm going to do some harvesting, because you do have to harvest occasionally. And develop it. And this one's pretty full. So what I did, I built a screen. This is a 1/4 inch screen. And it's, I'm sorry, 1/8 inch screen. I got a 1/4 inch screen one as well to separate out stuff. And basically I'm trying to separate 3 things: compost, vermicastings, and earthworms. And as you can see, I'm getting some nice earthworms here. And these earthworms, some of these earthworms are going to go to Kansas to our project out there. To our friend, if you go to Paganics, our friend Loretta, who's been working on some really large scale stuff. So you just kind of separate it out. And as you see, as you go through it, you can dry this out a little bit. I was afraid to dry this out this time. And that sort of thing. You can see the grasses are still there. Some of this food is still there. So this all has to be recomposted.
So this blue bucket right here is compost. And this bucket over here is worms.
Is worms.
And then what's in the white bucket there?
And that's going to be vermicastings. And the difference between the 3 of them, and I'll show you vermicastings when I'm done, is basically vermicasting is the worm poop itself. And I'm trying to be very gentle. Now for big operations, this is a mechanical harvester. They use a mechanical harvester to do this. They dry these out a little bit, and they basically dry this material out a little bit more than I have here. And they go after it, and they have a machine that does basically the same thing. It uses giant screens, and they roll them to separate the vermicastings from the compost and the worms. Another way of doing it is I could separate the worms just by putting in containers and separating them out. And then, man, this is really thick with worms. And the problem with it is that, so I said, why don't I just leave it alone if it's so thick with worms, is that after a certain point, you can't breed, the worms will stop breeding as heavily. They've got a mechanism inside there. If their soil gets too full of other worms, it'll stop the process. So you separate them out.
So they figure they've got enough and they just stop.
Yeah, they don't increase the numbers of them anymore. They just kind of, it becomes a event where they become a zero-sum game for them, and if there's not enough room for them, they'll stop or slow down breeding, or it'll increase all sorts of activities on that. So as you can see, we got worms coming in. Well, that's pretty good. You can see the number of worms, and like I said, this is, I'm picking for Loretta some of my worms, and for the plant, which I'm moving into next week, I'm actually late moving in. And voila. Having stripped this of this worms, I'll show you that in a minute. Let me go ahead. Okay, here we go. You see I have a lot of soil on top, so because I always keep them moist, but let me flip this over. There we go. And I harvest that from one bin.
Wow, they're just like in a great big ball of
yes.
slimy goodness, huh?
Well, it depends on it. The egg factor is a really big factor. So then I have this. And then I have like I took out the worms. Some would actually end up, of course, some are not going to be there. And then the eggs are all in here. And what you then do is take this, and you can recompost it. You can either put it in your compost pile, or an escapee, or you can get another real earthworm on it. And last but not least, this is the stuff that most people are going after. As you see, the tiny little balls. You'll have to separate it again for earthworms and eggs. But there it is. This is the stuff that you make aerated compost tea from. And this stuff here is hugely beneficial. And this stuff will go into, this is the stuff that when you see living compost, this is the vermicasting. This is the stuff that has got bacteria and phosphates and phosphorus and nitrogen. 5 times as much nitrogen, 7 times as much nitrates or phosphoruses, and 11 times the potash of regular soil. And this is the stuff that's really important. And of course, what you do, once you get that, you just go out, get another batch of worms. You can get it a couple of ways. And there you go. And then you can see how it looks. Separate your worms. Some of your worms will crawl down. And there you go. And when you get it this thick, maybe a little thicker, you start to harvest, separate, and you can start more bins. You can start more everything. You can sell them. And as you see, I have a lot of young in here. So I want to make more room. I want to give some people their worms. My first batch of worms to be shipped out. And get ready for the plant. And so that is it. So this stuff I will take, I will dry that out. I will see what's got in there. The vermicastings I will dry out as well and prepare them for compost tea. And last but not least, I will harvest the worms, putting them back into their tanks to grow some more, and sending some out to my friends. This is me, Ed, for Paganics. Thank you for supporting our campaign and helping me build a greener world.
Thanks for explaining it to us.